Howdy, baseball fans, and welcome to the Do Baseball Toddcast on the ChristopherMedia.net network, also on Apple Podcasts. I was informed this week that I need to start calling it Apple Podcasts, so there you go. You can find me on Google Play as well as Stitcher, and brand new this week, we're up on Spotify. Hey, you know, if you have a podcast, you get more exposure if you're on more platforms. Who knew? A lot of people, just not me. I'm your friendly and congenial host, Todd. Hope you had a wonderful week so far. As we kick off a new week, I guess. I'm recording this late on Sunday night. Trying to get it out for Monday. And looking relatively promising first part of the week for the Tigers. Heading off to Baltimore to play probably the worst team in baseball. I think I said the Marlins were the worst team in baseball. I probably shouldn't say that again, huh? I said last week that the Tigers could lose all 3 games to the Marlins, and the Marlins would still leave Detroit with a worse record than the Tigers. That, my friends, was not a request. It was not. I was not asking for that to happen, but apparently they thought I was, and proceeded to lose 3 straight to the Marlins. We'll get to them here in just a couple of minutes. One thing I want to say, though, after this 3-game series this weekend at Citi Field in New York with the Mets, it's time for the automated strike zone. I've been talking about this. I'm a conservative guy when it comes to making changes in baseball. A lot of people think that the pitching mound should be pushed back because pitchers are throwing harder and this and that. I'm not big on changes. I like the game the way it is. I think that the pitching mound should stay where it's at. I'm not a big proponent of illegal defenses. It's up to the hitters, as we saw today with Todd Frazier, to hit against the shift. I mean, today there was a runner on third. I think there was one out in the inning. They decided to shift him. He's a pull hitter. He laid down a bunt. He bunted the ball to the right side towards where the second baseman should have been playing. A huge hole there. Got a base hit, wound up driving in a run. That is how you're going to counter the shift. So I'm not a big proponent of illegal defense and that kind of stuff, but listen, the automated strike zone, it's time. I'm not saying that just because of what happened with the Tigers this weekend. It seemed like they were on the wrong end of every missed strike ball count. I'm sure that wasn't the case. But today I saw one of the best at-bats out of Jacoby Jones. I think the best at-bat I have ever seen out of him. Today, the last at-bat of the game, he did everything a hitter's supposed to do. He fouled off tough pitches. He hung in there against one of the best closers in Major League Baseball, in Edwin Diaz. He did everything right, only to be hosed by Jerry Meals and his interpretive strike zone. That's what it is. Each umpire has an interpretive strike zone of what they think the strike zone is, or maybe it's what they think the strike zone should be, or what it looks like in their own precious minds. It's been that way forever. I understand that. And there was a day and age before technology came along that could alleviate this problem, that you could just say, well, the pitch was too close to take. Maybe it was. The pitch was a ball. There's no way to get around it. You can use your naked eyeball. You do not need the little overlay box to see that the ball was outside. The little box confirms that, but Jacoby Jones did everything he was supposed to do. He fouled off tough pitches. He earned a walk. And it turned into the last out of the game. The game ended right there. There would have been the bases loaded, bottom of the ninth inning in a 1-run game. The umpire missed the call. Game over. It's time, my friends, to bring the automated strike zone to the major leagues. This isn't not only unfair to the hitters, who do everything right and then get hosed, it's also unfair to the pitchers. A lot of times who do everything right, put a ball right on the black, execute the pitch perfectly, only to get hosed by an interpretive strike zone. And these pitchers, I don't want to sound like I'm condemning the umpires completely here. They're doing the best job they can. I'm 100% certain of that. These pitchers are throwing 98, 99 miles an hour every day now. It's really hard to track the ball, especially when you're buried behind the catcher. And they do a really good job based on what they're working with. But the technology is there, though. It is now. And like I said, it's not only unfair to the pitchers and the hitters who get hosed, it's also unfair to the umpire because the umpire is the only one watching that game. Even a lot of the fans in the stands have tech. They can watch where the pitch was. They are the only ones who don't realize that they just screwed the call up. They're the only ones who don't have the means to see it. It's not like they got a little thing in their pocket they can look down and say, oops, I missed that one, sorry. They don't know. They're the only ones. This is not fair to the umpire. They're trying to do a good job. They're doing the best they can. But everybody can see when they missed a call like Jerry Meals did to Jacoby Jones for the last out of the game today. That is not fair to the umpire either. And it's too bad, too, because Jacoby had finally reached the Mendoza line. I think the batting average, the overlay, I'm getting a little discrepancy between what the Tiger stats said and what I found online tonight. But at least according to what the Tigers had put up, he's been hitting the ball really well the last week. He finally hit the Mendoza line, got his batting average up 200. He earned a walk with a wonderful at-bat, only to have himself kicked down into the 190s again by Jerry Meals. The technology is there. It's tried. It's true. I mean, if the overlay isn't accurate that we're seeing on these broadcasts, take it down. But if it is accurate, then it's time to incorporate it. Figure out, work out the kinks this year in the Atlantic League, wherever it is, and let's get it here. Because what's it going to take? People hemmed and hawed about an instant replay forever.
Oh, we don't want to bring it in because it's just weird. We like the purity of the game.
And then Armando Galarraga comes out, throws a perfect game. Jim Joyce blows the call at first base, and all of a sudden, that's the impetus. Okay, fine, let's bring replay in. Is it going to have to be the seventh game of the World Series, bases loaded, 2 outs, bottom of the ninth, in a one-run game? Or a tie game? And the umpire misses a ball? Or misses a strike on the outside corner to walk in the winning run? Is that what it's going to take? I swear to God, I am more of a baseball purist than most people. But this is the only game, the only professional sport where the human element, which is a euphemism, that's a euphemism for poor officiating. When you're saying, we like the human element of the game, what you're saying is we like our officials to make mistakes. We actually appreciate poor officiating in our sport. We like our officials to miss calls. Who wants that? This is athletic competition. If you execute something perfectly, the official shouldn't get in the way of the game. Shouldn't get in the way of your performance. It goes against everything that athletic competition is about. The umpire, the official, should not be part of the game. He shouldn't be injecting himself into the sport. He's there to make calls. And the strike zone is based on actual. It isn't an abstract interpretation here. You can break out the rule book and you can read exactly where the strike zone is supposed to be. For too long, the strike zone has been up to, like I said, I like to use that phrase, the interpretive strike zone of each and every single home plate umpire. For too long, that's been accepted as part of the game. We have the technology now where it doesn't need to be. There are ways to do this. There are ways to get that elephant, that monkey off of the umpire's back and reward these players for doing things perfectly. Executing a pitch perfectly, taking a ball a couple of inches off the strike zone in a pressure situation against one of the best closers in baseball. Jacoby Jones should be rewarded for that rather than punished by an interpretive strike zone. Unless you like poor officiating. Who wants that? Or are you just being a contrarian? You just want to argue. I saw a writer for the Detroit News post something on Twitter this week. I quickly unfollowed him because you're right. Where are you getting this? How does your mind work? Were you going to sit down and write a screed defending poor officiating and trying to say that it's part of the charm of baseball because it's always been so? You'd rather watch a game where the umpire is actually part of the competition on the field. And where does it go next? I mean, why don't we just let the team who won the day before pick the umpire with, the most acceptable interpretive strike zone to that pitcher that day? Say you got like a Tom Glavine type, and you want Jerry Meals who's going to call every pitch 3 inches off the plate. If you've got a pitcher who can hit that, you've got a clear advantage. So why not just do that? I mean, it's the human element. I don't understand that argument. It doesn't make any sense to me. What about the integrity of the game? What about the integrity of athletic competition? We've got the technology, we've got the means right now to correct what I think is one of the biggest problems in baseball, and that is the interpretive strike zone and missing close pitches in key situations. And I'm not sitting here just picking on Jerry Meals either. I mean, Marty Foster's strike zone on Saturday was terrible too, and it was inconsistent. There are worse zones out there than his. But Marty Foster on Saturday, another good example of why those zones, I think they're coming sooner than later. It's just not fair to either the pitcher, the hitter, or the umpire that you could do exactly what you're supposed to do, only to be robbed by the officiating and having it excused by supposedly knowledgeable baseball people as the human element, the part of the game. If the players are getting screwed, get that human element part out of the game, especially if you've got the technology that will not interrupt the flow of the game. You're not going to have replay going to New York on every pitch that's 2 inches outside. You're not going to have challenges to pitches. You've got an electronic strike zone. Calibrate it, perfect it, implement it. For the love of God, please. Again, that was the best at-bat I've ever seen from Jacoby Jones. And I'll tell you, I'll get to more of this a little bit later on. But he's really picked it up over the last week. And to see him just get screwed like that, I felt bad for him. Elsewhere around baseball, looks like last week's 3-game series in Detroit did the Oakland A's a lot of good. Not only did they take 3 from the Tigers, they also went into Cleveland, ran their winning streak to 6, took 3 straight from the Indians. They pushed it to 9. And the A's have skyrocketed into second place in the American League West. They were in last place when they were here in Detroit a little over a week ago. And now they're in second place in the American League West, 6.5 behind the Houston Astros. Speaking of the Astros, the Justin Verlander game against the White Sox, did you see that last week? Flirted with another no-hitter. I think he had 12 strikeouts over 8 innings. He went into the 7th inning without giving up a hit. His record was at 8-1 until today. He threw against the Red Sox. 3-game series against the what most people think of is the 2 best teams in the American League. Houston won the first 2. Boston won on Sunday, beating Verlander. Only his second loss of the year. He's 8 or 9-2. He's having a hell of a season, boy. Pitched really well, got the loss, but he threw really well against the Red Sox. 7 innings, 3 runs, 6 strikeouts, 0 walks. On the season, his ERA is sitting at 2.38. His WHIP, 0.75. 95 strikeouts and 79 in the 3rd innings on the season. He's, 35? It's really good to see him continuing to pitch well. Elsewhere around Major League Baseball, Carl Yastrzemski's grandson, has been called up by the San Francisco Giants. Carl Yastrzemski, one of my favorite all-time players. Played forever. Over 20 seasons in left field for the Boston Red Sox. One team. And when I was a kid, I saw him at Tiger Stadium. One of the first games I went to. I had just figured out who Yaz was. I had just started to appreciate baseball history really in its full context. And I saw the back of his baseball card one day. And I was like, oh my God. And so I'm sitting out there in left field at Tiger Stadium. I've got binoculars. I took binoculars that day. And I saw him step in the batter's box. He did this little twirl with his right hand where he would just twirl the bat. And he'd lift it up over his left shoulder before he hit. Loved it. Another thing I remember, he had a big hole in like the ear flap on his helmet. It was a lot bigger than everybody else's. I remember seeing that. He hit a ball that day. He didn't hit a home run. I was praying to God he did, but he hit one to the warning track at Old Tiger Stadium. It was like, oh, please. Anyway, his grandson is now in the major leagues playing outfield for the San Francisco Giants. They've got problems out there. They've had a lot of outfielders, a lot of left fielders, I do believe. I think Yastrzemski probably plays left. That would make a lot of sense. So he's up. Other former major leaguers besides Vladimir Guerrero's, other former major leaguers' children, I should say. Vladdy Jr. came up with the Blue Jays a few weeks ago. Craig Biggio's kid, Cavan Biggio, was also called up by the Blue Jays this Friday. Got his first hit and his first home run on Sunday up in Toronto against the Padres. So 2 of the 3 Blue Jays sons of ex-big leaguers are now in the major leagues. There's 3 of them. Vladdy Guerrero Jr., Cavan Biggio, and then Bo Bichette. Dante Bichette's kid, former Rocky, probably isn't far behind. So there's a nice-looking future up there in Toronto. Speaking of the future, the Tigers have lost. What is it? What is it now? That would have been 9, 10, 11 out of 12. So let's look to the future a little bit. I did a little checking around down around the minor league teams to see how these young kids are doing. Start with Alex Faedo. Supposed to be one of the new guard starting pitchers on the way here in the next couple of years. He's been mostly good in Erie. There's some real clunkers in there as well, though. ERA is sitting at 4.29 in AA. Looks like Friday against Bowie. The Bowie Bay Sox. They seem to play Bowie a lot lately. 6 innings, gave up 3 hits, a run, 7 strikeouts, only 1 walk. On the road against Bowie, though, to sort of highlight his inconsistency, same team, but on the road back on the 18th. 4 1/3, 10 hits, 5 runs, and only 3 strikeouts. And then I think he pitched against Richmond. That'd be the Flying Squirrels. Back on the 13th. He went 5 innings, 6 hits, 6 runs, but struck out 10. And gave up 2 walks. He gave up 3 home runs in that game as well. So Alex Faedo's kind of been up and down. The talent is definitely still there, though. Matt Manning, on the other hand, has not been up and down. He's been up all year. The last 2 have been both on the road. Combined over the last 2 starts on the road, 12 2/3 innings, 9 hits, only 2 runs. He's walked 3 and struck out 13. On the season, his ERA is sitting at 2.17 in AA Erie. Looks like he's thrown about 50 innings, 32 hits, 13 walks, and 68 strikeouts, again in around 50 innings, and only 1 home run allowed in AA. He's ticketed for Toledo before long. 1 home run, and that was back on April 30th. Also in Erie, the one everybody's talking about, Casey Mize. He's continuing to pretty much dominate at AA. He's had 6 starts down there. His ERA on the season sits at 1.40. And this is just in Erie. This doesn't count his time at high A ball. 38 2/3 innings, 22 hits. He's only given up 6 earned runs. He's given up 2 home runs, but they were both in the same game. 2 two-run home runs, same game a week or 2 ago. He's walked 7, struck out 35 in 38 innings. He's ticketed for AAA as well. I don't know how many more starts he's going to get in AA. I figure if he has 2 or 3 more solid, really dominating starts where he's just not giving up anything, hits, walks, anything like that, I think he's got to be ticketed for Toledo right along with Matt Manning. These guys are going to be knocking on the door to Detroit real soon, and then we're going to start hearing the howls about not calling these guys up because of the contracts, because they don't want to start the free agent clock, especially if Mr. Carpenter, or who did they call up today? Was it Matt Hall? Yeah, he was in the bullpen today. They sent him back down after the game. But I mean, at some point, people are going to get sick and tired of the warm bodies that are just there as placeholders until they want to start the service time clock on Manning and Mize at least. Some other players doing some stuff. Down in Toledo, apparently Jeimer Candelario was a little upset about his demotion. He's played 10 games for the Mud Hens. He's hitting .368 down in Toledo. His OPS is over 1,100. 13 RBIs for Jamer. In 10 games, he's hit 3 home runs. He's walked 8 times, and here's the thing. He's only struck out 3. 3 strikeouts in those 10 games down at Toledo. In his last 3 games, 8 for 12, 2 home runs, 10 RBIs, 5 walks, has not struck out once. Jeimer may be coming back northward here before too long. Will Lugo's been all right, though, right? I mean, he hasn't been tearing anything up, but he's been all right. I kind of like his bat. A little slap hitter, slash hitter. But Jeimer, I think the organization sees as the future. He keeps hitting like that. He's not going to be in Toledo long. Did you know Mikey Matuk is still with the organization? I thought we had seen the last of him after that Little League error in center field a month or so ago. I thought we had. I figured he was gone, maybe playing in Idaho. Nope, he is still with the organization. He is still in Toledo. He's doing all right. He's hitting .327 down there. But the problem with Matuk, and I think this may be I'm not saying they're not going to call him up. I'm not going to make this prediction. I'm not going to say we're never going to see Mikey Matuk in Detroit again. But he's still striking out way, way too much. 30% of the time down there. He's got a few home runs. His OPS is up there. But 30% strikeout rate in Toledo in AAA? It's not good. Victor Reyes, remember him from last year, right? The Rule 5 guy that they had to keep on the club for the entire season and did. Organization really likes this kid. They think he's got a lot of tools. He's a project guy. He's perked up a little bit. He's hitting .316, 11 RBIs over his last 10 games in Toledo. But he's got 10 RBIs in his last 3. I think something's happened. I don't watch and get information on every single game with the Mud Hens. But the stats over the last few games, did they have a blowout like 28-2 or something like that? I don't know. But yeah, 10 RBIs in his last 3 games. .316 over his last 10. I think he's still right around 240 or so. Drew Verhagen, everybody's favorite, being stretched out as a starter now in AAA. Didn't go too well in his first start down there. The second start in Colorado Springs. 4 innings, no runs, 2 hits, 3 strikeouts in Colorado Springs. Why is that significant? That's almost like pitching at Coors Field with the altitude. Daz Cameron. Everybody was talking about him at the beginning of the season. He had a really good spring. Was one of the better, more dynamic players on the entire team throughout spring training. A lot of people thought maybe he would be coming north. Maybe he would be coming north if and when Jacoby Jones didn't perform. Well, he's hit a AAA wall. He was hitting .221 about a week ago. Warmed up at the plate in the last week. Has gotten that average up 20 points to .241. He's got 6 home runs, 20 RBIs, but again, 50 strikeouts already. 50 strikeouts on May 27th. That's in 162 at-bats. You can do the math on that, right? 50 strikeouts in 162 at-bats equates to about 200 strikeouts over a major league season. That's Rob Deere, Pete Incaviglia numbers without the power. I mean, that's Jacoby Jones stuff, right? So maybe he needs a little more time down there in AAA to adapt and develop a little bit. I thought he would be up sooner than that. I figured he'd hit better than that. But it does take time for these players to adjust every now and then. All right, let's do a quick rundown of the standings around Major League Baseball. Yankees still on top of the American League East, 34-18, 16 games over 500, 2-game lead on the Tampa Bay Rays, still playing really good ball. I wish I understood how they did it every single year with that budget, that team, that attendance in that park. But they do. Boston's 28-25 now. They're in third place. Still playing pretty well. They won again They won tonight after losing the first 2 to Houston. Boston sitting at 28-25, 6.5 back, followed by Toronto and the Baltimore Orioles. We'll see them this week. They're at 16-37, 21 games under 500, playing 300 ball, and it doesn't feel like a sure thing with the Tigers going in there this week. The Minnesota Twins, how about the Twinkies? 36-16. They are 20 games over 500 on May 27th already. They have a 10-game lead on the Cleveland Indians. Not the Cleveland Indians of old. This team's probably going to start breaking itself apart here pretty quick. I'd be really surprised to see Trevor Bauer in that uniform after the end of July. Chicago White Sox are in third place, middle of the division at 23-29 rather. Followed by the Tigers and the Kansas City Royals, bringing up the rear at 18-34. Tigers only 2 games out of last place. And Tigers play the Orioles this week, so if they don't do something against Baltimore, they go to Atlanta at the end of the week Tigers could be in last place by the time I do another podcast. Houston's in first place out in the American League West, 35-19. They've got a 6.5 game lead over Oakland, as I mentioned earlier, followed by Texas, Los Angeles, and the Mariners, bringing up the rear in the AL West at 23-32. In the National League, Phillies on top in the East. They have game-and-a-half lead over the Braves. Tigers see them next weekend, like I said. The Mets, after taking 2 of 3 from the Tigers, are at 26-26, back to 500. And the Nationals and the Marlins bringing up the rear in the National League East. Marlins, by the way, once they got out of Detroit, proceeded to lose 3 straight. Not a good team. We made them look a heck of a lot better than they are. In the National League Central, Cubs still on top at 30-21. They got a game-and-a-half lead over the Milwaukee Brewers. St. Louis Cardinals 4.5 back along with the Pirates. And both of those teams are at 500, followed by the Cincinnati Reds. Last place team, only 4 games under 500 in a very competitive National League Central. National League West, Dodgers still have a 7-game lead over both the Padres and the Diamondbacks, who are 28-25. Rockies 24-27 are 10 games back, and the San Francisco Giants 21-31. But they have a Yastrzemski in left field now. So, hey, things are looking up at what do they call that park? I don't even know. What do they call that park out there? This is not AT&T. Oracle Field, Oracle Park. I'll call it Candlestick. How's that? All right, let's take a quick recap of the Marlins series last week. Obviously, Tigers lost 3 in a row to one of the worst teams in baseball. Tuesday, first things first, let's talk about these uniforms. The Marlins are being D-backish in their uniform. Didn't they just change these things a few years ago? Changed to those bright orange things. And what are these? They look like a softball team. No offense to softball players out there. You wouldn't even wear those uniforms, would you? Come on. Gotta be kidding me. Last Tuesday, Turnbull wasn't exactly good. He wasn't terrible either. He didn't get a lot of help. He could have lasted a heck of a lot longer than 4 innings had he had any help from his defense. And the Tigers, they should have lost this one probably in regulation. Not probably. They definitely should have. Miami handed them the game in the bottom of the 9th inning with what looked like my high school's defense. Poor Sergio Romo. Shane Green got a taste of this later in the week. We'll get to that in a minute. But he came in to throw the top of the 10th, clean 10th inning. I only saw 1 meat pitch, and that was to Starlin Castro, who wound up taking it. Joe Jimenez comes in the 11th inning. He's almost out of the inning. Chad Wallace, number 9 hitter, worst team in baseball, ropes an RBI double off Joe Jimenez. I mentioned it in the last podcast. If you're in tight games, you're not going to survive greenitis very often, and that's exactly what that was. He's ahead in the count through a meat pitch to the number 9 hitter. I don't care who he is. I don't care if he is the 9 hitter on the worst team in baseball. You're not going to get away with that in key situations very often. There's no need for that ahead in the count, yet he did it again, and it cost him. That was the ball game. This Anderson kid, I don't even know who he was. I'm not real familiar with him. He looked pretty good against us, though. He worked around a walk for a painless bottom of the 11th inning, and that was the end of that one on Tuesday. Wednesday, Daniel Norris looked stellar. Didn't throw his first 3-ball count of the game until the 6th inning. And that 3-ball count ended in Garrett Cooper's first major league home run. Made it 3-1 at the time, 3-1 Tigers. Still, the game's looking good. Daniel Norris was stellar. It was a great start. They sent him out for the next inning with 87 pitches. He got to another 3-ball count on that hitter, threw a good pitch at the bottom of the zone. A little bouncer went through the left side of the infield, a leadoff single. Gardenhire came out, pulled him immediately. He was only going to pitch the 7th if he could get through it clean. In comes in Buck We Trust, Buck Farmer, the Buck Farmer. Another hit in the hole. Kristen Stewart, I remember this. He sort of moseys over after it. I'll get there when I get there. The runner takes the extra base, makes it 1st and 3rd with nobody out. Neil Walker, veteran hitter, one of the few veteran hitters on that team, comes up, ropes a 2-run double. Immediately tying the game. There's not even an out in the 7th inning with this bullpen. Norris lost the win, another blown save, and then Miguel Rojas hit his RBI single with 1 out, blew the save, lost the lead. And again, this is against the Miami Marlins. 8th inning comes along. Alcantara's back in there, or Alcantara. This kid could be sick. When he's locating, when he's putting the ball where he wants to, he can be unhittable, but he's rarely locating his pitches, man. He walks Cooper to start the inning in the 8th on a 3-2 pitch. It was nowhere near the strike zone. This guy isn't exactly Ted Williams. He's got one career home run. He gets ahead of Brian Anderson 0-2, and then you probably remember this one too. Another missile shot out. It looked like it was hit out of a cannon. 108 miles an hour to right field on an 0-2 pitch. It wasn't a terrible pitch this time. It was on the outer black, but the kid, Anderson, was sitting on it, obviously. He just blasted it, made it 6-3, and this was an inning after being up 3-1. And that was pretty much it. It was 6-3. It might as well have been 15-3. Jacoby Jones, though, I put this in my notes as I was watching it. It looks like he's showing signs of life. And I wrote this down. It says, it sounds funny, but I was actually encouraged to see him take a walk after almost hitting a home run but watching it go foul. He didn't get all excited. He didn't get all over anxious after just missing the home run. He took a really good pitch, just like he did yesterday against Diaz. This one he got the call on. Took a good pitch to get on base rather than leaving the zone, and I like that a lot. He looked like he was feeling better. He wasn't pressing as much, and therefore maybe seeing the ball a little bit better. I was kind of anxious to see if he continued it, and obviously he has for the rest of the week. 9th inning comes along. Frisbee slinging Sergio Romo. He was with the Giants in the 2012 World Series. Remember him? Same guy. He's still out there. His ERA's over 5. I don't know why Sergio Romo is closing and not this Guerrero kid they had out there. What was his first? I forget his first name, but he's throwing 100-mile-an-hour heaters everywhere. Teheran Guerrero. He was throwing 101. But Sergio Romo's their closer. Well, whatever. Easy 16-pitch save for Romo. Really easy. It's their 8th straight loss. Ick. That's the final thing I have written here. Thursday's game, we remember this one. Oh, boy. Matt Boyd was really, really good. Didn't give up any runs. I think he struck out 8 or something like that. The team is up 2-0 in the 9th inning, and they failed 2 times in the top of the 9th to turn double plays, including one that would have ended the game, bobbled just a little bit, just enough to allow the runner to reach first base, and Green blew his first save of the year when he gave up the grand slam. That wasn't on him, though. I don't put this one on Shane Green a bit. Now, his defense let him down there, and that was probably Thursday's loss, 5-2, after being up 2-0 in the 9th inning, and having your defense fall out from underneath you was probably the worst loss of the year so far. And that includes that beat down to the A's, a 17-3 game last week. So yeah, 3 straight losses to the Marlins. Tigers ended one of the worst home stands of the last 25 years or so, losing 9 straight. Should have been 10. One of those games was suspended. Yeah, they were losing that one as well. So that was just a winless homestand against not very good teams. So think about this. This is Friday. All right, you come off that loss on Thursday. Terrible loss. Your defense lets you down. You definitely have some sort of a psychological letdown with that. You have to, right? You've lost 9 straight games at this point. 9.5 if you include the suspended game with Oakland. And you got to face Noah Syndergaard at Citi Field in New York City. And on the mound for you, Gregory Soto. Right? This doesn't look good at all. The Mets had won 4 in a row as well. They just swept the Nationals on top of it. I mean, this seemed like a lambs to the slaughter game. But this has not been the Noah Syndergaard everybody expected and got used to. The Tigers jumped out to a 4-1 lead, in part thanks to a Jacoby home run. He continued to rake 447 feet. A bomb off Syndergaard to left center field. Soto was pretty good. He's getting better, improving, but he started getting predictable. Adeiny Echeverria comes up. This is a guy who was known when he was with the Marlins as a defensive first shortstop. Very, very good glove. I don't know why he's playing second base. I really don't. But this is a guy who nobody wanted. He's sort of like the Jose Iglesias of the National League, right? He's not exactly a great hitter. He never has been. He's not known for it. Well, he promptly comes up and jacks a 3-run home run off Soto. He's getting predictable. It looked like he knew exactly where that ball was going to be, what it was, and where it was going to be. Incredible. So you're ahead 4-1. That put the Mets back on top 5-4 in the fourth inning. And then we can finally cheer Miguel Cabrera showing some power, barely. He promptly tied it with his second home run of the season. His second home run of the season. And also his second opposite field wall scraper of the year. Hit it to right center field, 99-mile-an-hour exit velocity. And it went out. Hey, we'll take it. I'm not complaining. 99 miles an hour, not exactly launched, but it counts. Tied the game. And then the ping pong match started. Pete Alonso, how about this kid? Miguel Cabrera has 2 home runs. Pete Alonso, a kid that didn't even start the season with the Mets, hit his 17th of the year. Friday night, an absolute missile off of Reininger. High off the left field. Foul pole put the Mets back ahead. Tigers put the first 2 on in the 6th inning. Got Syndergaard out of the game. Wound up tying the game, leaving the losing streak's fate in the hands of Buck Farmer, and Buck we trust. He has been one of the more reliable bullpen arms, relatively speaking anyway. Aaron Altair, fresh off the waiver wire. I think they got him off waivers from Philadelphia. I mean, I think it was his first at-bat, his first game in New York. Promptly hits just a thunderous Thor shot. Sorry, Syndergaard. Out to left field. Puts the Mets up 7-6. It was a terrible pitch. I mean, that pitch deserved to be hammered. Altair's got good power. You can't make that pitch to him in that situation. This isn't Erie, man. You're going to put a pitch there late in a tie game. You got to just shut up and wear it. And at that point, the Tiger announcers pointed out that this team has given up 36 home runs out of that bullpen already. Second most in Major League Baseball. And Gibby was like, hell, you got to think about solutions. Yeah. You find pitchers who can locate the ball. If you're not willing to call them up, that's fine. I understand that. What about Addison Reed? Addison Reed was on the waiver wires, claimed by Toronto. You think he wouldn't fit into that bullpen? Rather than the warm bodies we seem to just be throwing out there. What, is he too expensive? Maybe he doesn't play into the team philosophy. Reminds me of the line from the movie Major League, right? Fits right into our team philosophy. What exactly is our team philosophy? We don't have a team philosophy. It's a bunch of placeholders, especially on that pitching staff and in that bullpen, until they're ready to start the service time clock on some of these pitchers. I'm sorry. Ryan Carpenter, he had a great game on Saturday. Get to him in a minute, but come on. If you're telling me that he is a more competitive play than Matt Manning at this point, these guys are here as placeholders. They're coasters on this team until they're ready to start the service time clocks on what they consider the real future of this club. I got a couple in the top of the 7th inning. Jacoby Jones came through. He yanked a 2-run double to left field, put the Tigers back on top, and then Brandon Dixon pinch hit in the pitcher's slot. Knocked a single up the middle, made it 9-7. Tigers talking about Friday. Alcantara came back in. Yay. Promptly walked the leadoff man. It just was like, oh no, here we go again. But he wound up pitching a clean 7th. Fast forward to the 8th inning on Friday. Joe Jimenez back in there. First pitch, meet pitch. Wilson Ramos hits a missile out to left field, bringing the Mets back within 1. Second home run of the game. We saw enough of Wilson Ramos this weekend, didn't we? Then he wound up giving up a 2-out double to Echeverria. Dom Smith comes in. He pinch hits. With a tying run on second base, he threw an excellent changeup. You don't see enough changeups from Jimenez, but he threw an excellent changeup for strike 2, struck out this Dom Smith guy to keep the lead intact. So he got the hold. He gave up a home run. We've been seeing a lot of that from Jimenez lately. Did it again, but only pulled the Mets within 1, didn't tie the game. 9th inning, everybody's old pal Hector Santiago comes in for the Mets. He's been around forever, at least feels like it. Used to pitch for the Angels. Tigers went down 1-2-3. Jones hit another one out to the warning track, swinging the bat really well. Then Shane Green, I got to give him credit. Day after that horrible loss in the Grand Slam in the 9th inning, he comes in, he gets 2 outs on 3 pitches. Sawed off J.D. Davis. Then to Todd Frazier, he got away with one. He threw a first pitch meatball slider right in the middle of the plate. Frazier took it, thank God. He grounded out to short for an 8-pitch save, and the losing streak finally comes to an end at 9.5. Yay. And everybody breathes a little bit easier. Soto was better. Again, he got predictable, started missing over the plate in the 4th inning. Stop me if you've heard this before. And somehow, though, since this was a National League game, Soto went 2 for 2. The pitcher. Jones, again, it started to look like he's getting there. His bat is quick. And one of the things I've wondered about Jacoby Jones is I wonder if he realizes how quick his bat is. Because when he's struggling, he looks like he's afraid to get beat on a fastball. He's reacting to the pitch too quickly. It's how he's susceptible to these balls down in the dirt. Nick Castellanos had the same problem when he came up, if you remember. He was real easy to get out his first couple of years. All you had to do was throw him high fastballs and bury curveballs in the dirt. He'd swing at them. Reminds me of Jacoby Jones a little bit. Not comparing him to Castellanos, certainly. But I do wonder if he's not aware just how quickly his bat is and how long he can wait and still get the bat on the ball. But whatever, he's figured something out this week. He's seeing the ball much, much better than he was. Then with the losing streak ending on Friday, on Saturday it turned into the veteran Vargas against guy with a pulse, Ryan Carpenter. That's how I saw it anyway, and I'll be damned if Carpenter wasn't good. Really good. He pitched with a little bad luck here. He gave up I think he gave up an early home run. Then in the fourth inning, a ground ball to Dewell Lugo at third base, booted it. All of a sudden, balks are being called. And it turned out that it was because Carpenter was stopping to his set twice. You can't do that. When you bring your hands down and you stop, the next movement has to be to the plate. You can't double set. And Carpenter had no idea he was balking, apparently. He hadn't had any runners on prior to that. And he finally got somebody out. He goes to this double set, does it twice in a row, moves the runner from first to third. And that was that. Wilson Ramos again singled into left field to put the Mets up 2-1. He didn't seem to let that get to him, though, Carpenter. Actually, he seemed a little upset. And when he got upset, I think he struck out two of the next three hitters. I like that. I like to see a little edge out of that kid. Something just seemed to click, like a little fierceness, maybe. Brandon Dixon pinch hit in the top of the sixth inning, hit a 2-run moonshot, put the Tigers back on top. It was his fourth home run of the year, put Carpenter in a position to win after 5 really, really good innings. Bottom of the sixth, Neil Ramirez walked the leadoff hitter. That's always good. Tigers gave the lead right back. Wilson Ramos hits another bomb. I think it was his third in 2 games. It was another first pitch. Looked like a changeup, though. But it was up in the zone. And you never, ever, ever, kids, want to put a changeup up in the zone. The only place for a changeup is down, preferably down and away. There is nothing good that can typically happen with a high changeup. And that's exactly where Neil Ramirez put it. He looked like he was sitting on it, too. Wilson Ramos is a good hitter. He's a smart hitter. He knows what Neil Ramirez has done. He's seen the scouting report. It looked like he was just sitting there waiting for that thing. He hit that one with 2 outs, hit it to right field. Miguel Cabrera grounded into his second inning-killing double play on the top of the 7th inning. Ground ball to the left side. As always, he's back to this again. Only seen him hit a couple of balls in the air hard to the left side all year. Usually ground balls either up the middle. A lot of his hits are going up the middle. A lot of his hits are going into the hole in between third and shortstop, or they're going to right field. Would have been his third double play, actually. He did that 3 consecutive times, but the other time there were 2 outs. It got interesting in the top of the 8th inning. Gesellman comes in for the Mets. Josh Harrison hits a 1-out hustle double, flying out of the box. Outfielder didn't get to the ball in time. He takes the extra base. Grayson Greiner grounded out. Mets bring in Edwin Diaz to close down, lock down a 5-out save. He's one of the best, if not the best, closers in baseball. And Jacoby Jones comes in, has a really good at-bat. Again, he's still hovering right around 180 at that point, right? And you figure, again, that this is going to be over. Edwin Diaz against Jacoby Jones hitting 180. I don't care if he's had a decent week or not. You figure this is it, right? And again, this is where it comes in. This is another instance where I'm wondering about Jacoby, whether he doesn't trust his own bat speed when he's slumping and he's lunging. He came up with a huge hit. He fought off an Edwin Diaz, I think it was a fastball, to right field. He came up with a huge hit. Then Ronnie Rodriguez comes up, pinch hitting for the pitcher. He had a decent at-bat as well, giving Jones a chance to steal second base. He did. And then Rodriguez struck out on 3-2, out of the zone again to end the inning. But that Diaz slider, man, one of the best in the game. And suddenly they look like a different team, though. with him in the game. One of the best closers in the game. And I got to give Jacoby Jones a lot of credit, man. He's been hitting the ball a lot better, and that at-bat was really, really good. Bottom of the 8th inning on Saturday, Hardy gets the leadoff man on the first pitch, walks J.D. Davis to bring up Pete Alonso. Oh, boy. A marginal soft-tossing lefty against Pete Alonso in the 8th inning. Felt like the makings of another bullpen nightmare, didn't it? You got ahead 0-2, and then shades of Thursday, got the double play grounder. Goodrum. Why he's playing shortstop at the bottom of the 8th inning, I have no idea, but he was. Booted a ball that could have gotten him out of the inning with a double play. That brought up Ramos, and everybody by now sick and tired of Wilson Ramos. And Hardy at least made sure not to throw a get-me-over first pitch meat strike and wound up inducing another double play grounder, this time to third, and they got a turn to end the inning. But that inning felt like it could have got really ugly really, really fast. So thanks to Jacoby Jones, the game is tied in the top of the 9th inning. Edwin Diaz is out of the game now. And Dawel Lugo comes up with his third hit of the game. He singled up the box. Castellanos rounds into double play, tied at 4 heading to the bottom of the 9th. Hardy's back out there to face 5 through 7. Gave up a single to Todd Frazier, but no other damage. So the game goes into extra innings. Tigers had a real chance in the top of the 12th inning. Hector Santiago's in there. Gets another one of what's becoming, his patented Rod Carew, Tony Gwynn grounders up the middle for a base hit. Stewart walks on 4 pitches. And then Harrison, trying to get the bunt down to move the 2 runners up, pops up a bunt to third base in foul territory for the first out of the inning. That was the key of the entire inning as far as I'm concerned. So Santiago gets that break. And then Grayson Greiner, inexplicably, hitting 170, walks on 4 pitches. Santiago cannot throw the ball over the plate to Grayson Greiner. I mean, maybe he was pitching around him. I don't think so. I don't think he could locate anything. Anyway, that loaded the bases with 1 out for Jacoby Jones. And then, after walking a hitter on 4 pitches twice in the inning, I was thinking to myself, I don't care how well you've been doing, Jacoby. If you swing at the first pitch in this at-bat, I'd bench your ass. He took it for a strike. And then it was swinging strike 2 and swinging strike 3. Suddenly, it's bases loaded, 2 outs. Then John Hicks comes up. He was the last guy off the bench. So the bench is completely depleted by now here in the 12th inning. He's pinch hitting for the pitcher Stump. Umpires came in and bit Hicks here. Strike 2 was called. Wasn't a strike. Wasn't anywhere near being a strike. So instead of 2-1 count to Hicks with the bases loaded in the 12th, it's 1-2. That completely changes the at-bat. He fouled off a 3-2 pitch before lifting a lazy fly ball to center field to end the inning. But that was a terrible fundamental inning. All they had to do was get the bunt down, put the ball in play, and they're probably going to score a run. If you can't put the ball in play, you can't get a bunt down. I don't know what to tell you, man. That's not just small ball either. I mean, that's baseball. Moving the runners over. Getting the runner in for third base with less than 2 outs. It's just fundamentals. Game moves to the 13th inning. Officially a marathon by now. Santiago, he's still in there. Nico Goodrum grounded out to third, and then Dawel Lugo steps in. He's 4 for 6 at this point, having a great game. And again, robbed on 3-2. Instead of ball 4, called strike 3. He earned a walk with another really good at-bat. I mean, again, it's ridiculous to do everything right and to get robbed by a questionable, and that wasn't even a questionable strike zone. And in the bottom of the 13th, in Buck we trust. 2-0 pitch to this Nito guy. I think he was in for Alonso. I forget why. But anyway, yeah, hits a bomb to right center field. Walk-off winner for the Mets in 13 innings. And the beat goes on. Carpenter was really good, though. 5 innings, he only gave up 2 hits, 2 runs, 1 earned run. A really good outing for him. Now, the Tigers have been struggling with a bat mightily for a long time, and that was the 4th straight game with 10 or more hits. And even though they lost, they out-hit the Mets 14-7. I think the balk calls, along with that familiar inability to get clutch hits, to drive in runs, aside from Jones against Diaz in this game, those were the 2 differences in this one. Those balk calls, I mean, obviously, it's a 4-4 game. Going into the 10th inning without that run, without the error, the 2 balks, that could have been a Tiger winner. And a lot of people do not like the National League style of play. I grew up here in Michigan. I grew up with the Tigers. I grew up with a designated hitter. I could not imagine for the life of me why anyone, as they say, would want to watch a pitcher hit. I went to work at Coors Field for a few years, a National League club. That is a much more fun version of baseball, in my opinion, than the American League game. There's so much more strategy involved. The benches mean so much more. Roster composition, having players who can play more than one position on your team is imperative. And pitchers who can hit. Again, pitchers who have more than one element, more than one aspect to their game, give themselves a huge advantage. And it's so much more fun, especially when these games go extra innings. And plus, during even conventional 9-inning games, where the manager has to make decisions about when to pull his starting pitcher. You know, if you're down 2-1 in the 6th inning, do you let your guy hit so you can keep him on the mound, or do you take a chance to score a run? I think, to me, as far as strategy goes and as far as even watching the game from the stands on television, as long as you understand what's going on, if you're a baseball fan, if you understand and appreciate the intricacy of baseball and the strategy of it, the National League game, to me, is far superior than the American League. Now, a lot of people think that the American League, the DH, is going to be coming to the National League before too long. I really hope that is not the case. I would much prefer to see the designated hitter done away with. I don't really care if the Reggie Jacksons and the Dave Kingmans get to play for a few more years in the American League as a designated hitter. I don't. It doesn't really interest me at all. If you're not healthy enough, spry enough to be able to compete in the outfield or first base, I don't really care if you can pad your home run stats for a few more years. I want a baseball player. I don't want a softball beer league home run hitter. Again, this is just my opinion. I know I'm probably in the minority on this, but I tell you, I felt the same way as a lot of people who absolutely detest pitchers hitting until I went and watched a National League team on a daily basis. And I came to understand it. It's a much more interesting, much more intricate game in the National League, and I really hope they keep it at least there. Last game of the series was Sunday, today, or yesterday, I guess, depending on when you're listening to this. Tigers got off to a 3-0 lead, thanks solely to Nick Castellanos. He drove in the first 3 runs, including with a solo home run. Spencer Turnbull back on the mound. He was rolling until the 4th inning. Todd friggin' Frazier, smart guy. I mentioned this earlier. They get a guy on third base. Tigers decide to employ that shift, and Todd Frazier unselfishly bunts to the right side of the infield. Not only getting the run in, it was also a base hit. I just wish more people would do this. It's an easy RBI. It's an easy base hit. Take the run, man. Everybody would cheer him if he hit a sacrifice fly, right? This way, you pad your stats. You're getting credit for a hit, too. Get the run in, man. Todd Frazier get it. He got it. And that's exactly what he did. And I, have it against my Tigers. I didn't like that, but I loved seeing that sort of unselfish play by Todd Frazier. So props to you, man. I wish more people would do it. And with 2 outs, Turnbull leaves a 2-seam fastball up over the plate, and Echeverria, that man again, Echeverria, this quote-unquote light-hitting shortstop, hits his second 3-run bomb of the series. Come on. It wasn't a cheapie either. It went to right field just like the first one, erased the lead, put the Mets up 4-3. Now, Jacob deGrom, Noah Syndergaard, they get all the press. They're in New York City, part of that Mets staff, rightfully so. Zach Wheeler, however, if you saw the game on Sunday, you know he is nothing to sneeze at. He's got some stuff, man. I imagine that when the Tigers sent Yoenis Cespedes to the Mets, got Fulmer back a couple of years ago, I can only imagine that Zach Wheeler was part of the discussion process. The Mets did not want to lose him. They would not give him up. I remember discussions about that, not necessarily with the Tigers, but I remember a lot of teams were asking about Zach Wheeler, and the Mets wouldn't move him. I'm sure the Tigers probably inquired upon him, but he was real good. Bottom of the 6th inning, 2-out swinging bunt for Carlos Gomez. Brings up Echeverria with 2 on again, and this time, man, it's like, okay, here we go again. He's going to hit another one. And Turnbull decided to buzz him inside with 95. Finally, somebody threw him inside. and then got him swinging at sliders out of the zone to strike him out, getting him off the outer half of the plate so he can't just launch little fly balls to right field for home runs. That's what you got to do with this guy. He's obviously looking outside. He's obviously lunging to the outer part of the plate and sending fly balls over the fence in right field. So, yeah, you buzz his tower and give him some 96 up at his hip and then see what happens. And Turnbull executed that to perfection. Really felt like he bowed his neck a little bit there, Turnbull. Without that one swing of the bat, it would look a lot better in the box score. The Frazier bunt might have annoyed him a little bit. Wouldn't me. Like I said, I hate to see it, but against the Tigers at least. But you know what, dude? Tipping the cap there. After a 7-pitch, 6th inning, that included 2 strikeouts. I did not misspeak there. Do the math on that real quick. A 7-pitch inning with 2 strikeouts. There's only one way to go about that, and Zach Wheeler did it in the 6th. So Wheeler's back out there. He's in a groove for the 7th inning, gets another strikeout, first pitch pop-up, and then a fisted roller to second base. So he followed up a 7-pitch 6th inning with a 9-pitch 7th inning. This is what happens when really good pitchers who have really good stuff and are locating, when that converges with hitters who lack discipline to begin with. It gets ugly. The quick innings stack up quickly. And Zach Wheeler was making that happen most of the day. Bottom of the 7th, Turnbull's under 90 pitches. He's back out there. He got him 1, 2, 3. A really good way to finish up. Ended up giving up only 7 hits. Struck out 8 in 7 innings, walking just 1 hitter. Another great start except for that 1 pitch. Without that 1 pitch, boy, maybe he should have buzzed Echeverria's tower a few innings earlier, huh? And in the top of the 8th inning, Jacoby. His second hit of the game. He's hitting. He's finally hitting. He was all the way up to 197. Before that at bat anyway. And I think that was the hit that bumped him up to the Mendoza line. Anyway, it's a close game. Cabrera steps in against Zach Wheeler. And I told my girlfriend, she was sitting on the couch watching the game with me, and I'm like, you know what? If I'm Zach Wheeler and I've got that fastball, I don't throw Cabrera anything but fastballs inside. Nothing. There's no way I'm speeding that slow bat up. First pitch, 97 at the knees, taken for strike 1. Second pitch, 97, caught a lot of the plate. He still couldn't catch up with it. That's swinging strike 2, and the third pitch was 97 on the inside corner. Cabrera had no prayer of hitting either of the 2 pitches he swung at 97. It didn't even look competitive. I don't know what I was watching. That was a shell of Miguel Cabrera. 97 in a key situation, late in the game. He couldn't even come close to getting the bat on the ball. Again, he's either hurt or his skills have quickly deteriorated to the point where he's a slap hitter. And he can't even slap 97. And maybe he was looking for something else. I'll offer the benefit of the doubt. It sure as hell didn't look like it to me. It looked like he was overmatched, especially on that strike 3 pitch on the inside part of the plate at 97. So, Yuri's Patrafamilia came in and locked down a threat in the bottom of the 8th inning. I mean, it got interesting in the top of the 9th inning. Edwin Diaz back in to lock it down. Kristen Stewart looked like he walked on 4 straight fastballs. Diaz switches over to that world-class slider of his for the first 2 strikes to Ronnie Rodriguez, busted him in with 97, and right back to the slider for an entirely predictable strikeout for the first out of the inning. Harrison pinch running for Stewart, steals second. Brandon Dixon rolls one through the hole at shortstop for a base hit. Harrison, who was on second, was not able to score, leaving it up to John Hicks. With a tying run at third base and 1 out. This is, again, situational baseball. They track things like this. Getting the run in from third base with less than 2 outs. Hicks swings at the first pitch, almost fouled out. I was yelling, like, what are you swinging at the first pitch for? Especially if you're going to do that, right? Thankfully, the ball went into the stands. And he put together, after that, a really good at-bat. I mean, he went into battle mode before striking out at a 98-mile-an-hour fastball away. It was a good at-bat. He ran Diaz's pitch count way up. That brought up Jacoby Jones with 2 outs. He was sitting exactly at 200, according to the overlay at Fox Sports Detroit. Yes, he's finally hit the Jacoby line. 200. I felt so good for the kid. I mean, that's a big deal. You're hitting in the low 100s, the mid 100s for a long time. You're finally getting it together. You finally over 200. Next stop, 250. Woo! He puts together the best at bat I have ever seen him put together. Best at bat I've ever seen out of this kid, and he gets screwed by Jerry Meals and his interpretive strike zone that I talked about at the beginning of the show to end the game. Really sad. He earned that. Bases loaded, 2 outs. I don't know. Had a pinch hitter coming up, I think, in the 9 slot coming up next. I don't know who it would have been. But you got the bases loaded, 2 down. Anything can happen. Diaz has a propensity to walk people. Anything can happen. It was such a good at bat. It would have been. It's just unjust to the umpth degree to see Jacoby not get rewarded for that at bat, and to see the game end on a pitch out of the strike zone again. So yeah, too bad. So that was that. Final score Sunday's game was 4-3 Mets. Wheeler got the win. Turnbull got the loss. He's fallen to 2-4. After the game, the Tigers acquired Austin Adams from the Minnesota Twins. You know Austin Adams, right? Yeah, I don't know who the hell he is either. No idea. He's going to join the team at Baltimore. Yeah, I have no clue. Happy Memorial Day, by the way. They've got 3 at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. It looks like Daniel Norris against Anoa on Monday, Matt Boyd against Dylan Bundy on Tuesday, and TBA or TBD for the Tigers on Wednesday against Means, who's been really good for Baltimore. And I'll tell you, it doesn't get easier. After these 3 games in Baltimore, things get a little dicey. Because looking back at this, the Tigers have lost, 11 of 12? Looking forward, you don't do something good in Baltimore. You've got 3 with Atlanta, you've got 3 with Tampa Bay, and then you've got 3 with the Minnesota Twins. Now, the Tampa Bay Rays series and the Twins series are both at Comerica Park, but that hasn't really helped lately, has it? But after these 3 games in Baltimore, it looks like you've got 3, 6, and the next 9 after that. We could be staring at another 9-game losing streak. Very easy if this team doesn't figure something out. So on that note, going to wrap this one up. Another episode of the Do Baseball Toddcast is in the books. I think I may start doing these a bit more often. First couple I've done after every 2 series. It's a lot of work. I may try this again on Wednesday after the Baltimore series wraps up and before the team flies off to Atlanta. Get a little more frequency, maybe a little less time per episode. What do you think of that? Oh, hope you like it. Check out all the great shows over at ChristopherMedia.net. Also, you can check out the Do Baseball Toddcast. If you haven't subscribed yet, you can do it on Apple Podcasts, also Google Play, over at the Stitcher. I'm on Spotify now, and some more platforms will slowly be added as we move on. If you like the podcast, make sure you share it, like it, do all those good social media things. I am a terrible marketer on the social media. All the help I can get, I appreciate. Daddy tired. Daddy's going to bed now. Thanks for clicking in. We'll talk to you next time. So long.